So in the midst of the pandemic, this is going back to March 2020 last year, I was losing retainers left, right, and forth of the design business that I'd created for the past, and I'd worked in for the past 4 to 5 years. And when the pandemic started, I decided, well, either I'm going to go and do something I really thoroughly enjoy, or we're just going to be stuck in the same routine. And that's where I decided, let's just do what we always wanted to do in the middle of a pandemic. And that was any fashion based industry. With my son, he was 3 years old at the time then, and I'd always struggled to find active wear for him that was playground friendly, usability friendly as well, so it didn't break every single time he wore it, and in the right colors so that he didn't come home with mud stains every single day. And so I started thinking about what textiles would be perfect for this. And I knew that I didn't want to do anything plastic based. I was very interested in plastic free and, the environment at that point, and even more so now. And so I did a lot of research. The textile industry is a huge, huge contribution to the world's plastic pollution at the moment. And so I knew that I wanted to steer clear of that. And that's why I decided to only use 100% cottons. The other reason for this was when my son was born, his skin was very sensitive to a lot of the clothing that I bought for him. I wasn't sure if it was, the detergents I was using or anything else. It came down to what was on the label. They were acrylic based. They were pure polyester. He couldn't breathe. He would break out. And that's why I knew cotton would be the answer. It's hyperallergenic. It's breather friendly. It's perfect from baby all the way up to full grown adult, and that was the reason behind that. When thinking of a name, I decided that I've always wanted to pay homage to the French theme of the minimalistic approach to dressing your child, which is very simple. If there are patterns, they're very simple based. The outfits are easy to throw together. And so I knew the name needed to reflect this. Noohs itself is it's a very dear name to me. I call my sister Nounou, I call my child Nounou. And luckily I found the perfect French word, which is also female and masculine, which is nounous, which translates exactly to naked or bare, which is exactly what the brand is. With the pandemic and being a mom, it wasn't very different to having my job previously, where I knew that I had to work from home to have my son work with me. And that was the only way that I was going to be able to have him be at home with me as well as grow with me, which is what I always wanted. Fast forwarding to Nunu's, what would happen is he would just come with me to all my meetings and to the fabric stores, and he would sit with me in my factory and we started renting space. And I found a balance of being able to include him in the overall business with me. Not many people can do that, so it can be a little bit testing, but I think that I found my balance with him being with me. In terms of working with him in the pandemic, it has been difficult because of his schooling. His schooling was on and off because of the pandemic, which made it a little bit difficult to juggle between going to meetings, meeting people to, make my clothing. And that's what originally forged me to buy the industrial machinery, rent my own space, and do everything from scratch, because that would allow me to have him with me still every day. So with my formal training, I am a graphic designer and a multimedia designer. So I've always had to, find my own avenue of making things work if I can't figure it out and if I don't have people in an office with me. And so with that same attitude, I applied the reasoning to go onto YouTube and research how to make a garment from scratch. I mean, honestly, I always wanted to do fashion, but it never happened that way. And so the next best teacher was YouTube, and that's how it all started. So I would literally look up a t-shirt, start from my basics and go, how to make a t-shirt, just as simple as that. How to overstitch, what is the difference between lock stitching and cover stitching, what are the different machinery? And so it took a lot of time to, figure out exactly what everything was and how it was placed in the industry and what would be used for every single garment. And once that was sort of, figured out a little bit, I could then get the small domestic machine and put it to trial. And that's how it started. And eventually, so I started learning a little bit more and failing a little bit more, failing more, learning more. And yeah, that's how it all started, with the fail and learn. And then after that, by the help, I originally started with the CMT manufacturer, and I would take my samples and I would say, don't you think rather we should add this to the sleeve or that to the sleeve? And then so expanded my knowledge of garments and what can be used to make them perfect. Ultimately, I started with the online shopping platform, and I knew that I needed the retail space for it to be a harmony balance in between, people who are busy and want to only shop online, and then also people who see what they will like online and want to come into the store. So there had to be a balance between the two. Some people don't like shopping online at all, and they steer clear of it, which is perfect as well. But for myself as a mom, I know what it's like to get a very busy toddler into a car seat to the shops if I'm the only one looking after him at that point of the day. So I think the online platform is exceptionally important, especially to busy parents, so that they can have a look at everything online. Our descriptions are what I feel perfect to describe what we have to offer. They can't exactly describe best what the cotton and everything feels like, but we do have a perfect exchange refund policy. So if people aren't happy, they can return it, or they can come into store and have a feel before they decide to commit to the purchase. When I was approached by Soco at that point in time, I didn't have a flagship, a retail shop. And I knew, going back to the marriage, I knew that I needed to have both online and as well as retail. And when they told me what the idea was, it was an umbrella of local talent and local retailers that were all going to be under one roof. I thought, well, what a perfect way of trying to launch noohs to the public, not just online, but in front of them. Soco has been amazing in terms of allowing somebody as small as myself to branch into a bigger audience, to gain the exposure that I will need going forward to make the brand, it will take the brand where I want it to go. So I think Soco really has been the bridge and fill the gap of that problem that small retailers like myself have faced. If you want to go to any store, like we are in Rosebank, if you want to go rent it yourself, you're going to be spending astronomical amounts a month, committed amounts of years as well. And Soco has offered, obviously, depending on how long you want to be here, very flexible timings. So you don't have to commit to the 3 years. You can commit to just 3 months if you just want to test your brand. And that was what was so perfect. And that what will allow brands like myself to be able to showcase our brand to the public. My advice to anybody would just be, just keep on swimming. I know it's such a cliche, but I've hit the highest of highs and even more of the lows. And the more you keep on pushing, the more rewards you will get, and it'll just replenish itself on a repetitive motion. Having said that, it is being an entrepreneur, especially amidst the pandemic, is a very, very trying moment, and it'll definitely stand the test of your brand. If your brand and you are strong enough and you persevere, you'll push through, and I promise you, when this all is over, it'll be well worth it.